Rivera, chef owner of Addo in Seattle, Washington. Eric, my friend, thanks
Hi.
for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you were the first guest, episode 2, 6 weeks ago. This is episode 65. It feels like, I can't believe it's been only 6 weeks because it feels like it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
A lot.
Really, yeah, it's crazy, man. A whole new world, right?
It really is. So we're going to talk about a few things. I want to talk about Addo and what you're doing there, how you are pivoting every single day to try and be what your community needs internally and externally. And I want to start with kind of what's on people's minds when they're thinking about you right now. You penned an op-ed in Eater called "The Chefs I Used to Admire Aren't the Leaders We Need Right Now." And it's jarring, right? It definitely calls out a lot of the institutional norms in the industry. It calls out specific people from, and you start with talking about how coming up you were really studying Thomas Keller and Ferran Adria, Rene Redzepi and David Chang, and then had to say, and at the same time right now calling out people like David Chang and Thomas Keller, Tom Colicchio, kind of the board that the Trump administration has in John George, Daniel Boulud, Wolfgang Puck, even 11 Madison Park. And so I want to unpack that a little bit and start with why was it so important for you to write this article?
I think for me, I've seen both sides of it. I've seen, I've worked in Michelin star kitchens. I've worked in these really cool places. I've actually met a lot of those guys. I understand how they operate. I understand how businesses operate. Now that I have my own business as my own, restaurant, we're tiny. We're less than 10 employees. We're, for the first year and a half, I was the only employee plus Ingrid, and that was it. And so it's like, I understand the difference and the range of how things work. And so for me, I just kept on seeing these stories where everybody was like talking to them and asking them for their opinions and what they had going on. And, oh my God, it's so tough and it's so bad and it's this. But there's no point of view from an employee. There's no point of view from, anybody that's really, really struggling. It was more, oh my God, chef, it's so hard that you laid off 800 people. Oh, Danny Meyer, your house in Connecticut and you laid off 2,000 people. How are you? And it's like, oh, he's chilling at a second home, and it's like that point of view is very silly to me because it's a bunch of rich chefs that feed a bunch of rich people. What are they going to do now? I mean, if a rich person really wanted to, you don't think they wouldn't fly Daniel Boulud to their house? They would. There's options, resources, there's things that they have that are available to them that someone like myself or another small business doesn't have. So I just wanted to shift the point of view. And so that's kind of what I was hoping for. Less talking to them about how they're doing, more finding out how their employees are doing.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. The whole premise of this show is to focus on the unsung hospitality heroes, the people in the trenches that are really making it happen. And so the tone of it of just being like, what the fuck is happening? Why aren't we talking about our people? And what the hell are you doing in your second home? All these type of things. The tenor of it was important to you. Why?
Because there's a lot of manipulation of thoughts. There's a lot of manipulation of who is in your restaurant and how they should be there. There's those big red flags when people start immediately saying something about family and family this and family meals and, hey, everybody, we're in this together and we got this and all this other kind of shit. None of that's true. None of that's true. None of that ever was true. On a cook level, if you couldn't perform, you're out the fucking door. You're not family. On a server level, as cool and nice as they are to check in with you, if they can't do the job, they're out. If shit hits the fan and you have to close, guess what? Your family's not family anymore. And that's, generally a tactic in restaurants where they do to underpay you and overwork you and just all this stuff. So when a lot of that starts to get, put one hand and then the other, they have this. I've seen it happen. I've had it happen to me plenty of times where I was like, man, these people are dope. Like, I really like them. I'm getting paid like shit, but like, I like them. And that's not good enough. That's not good enough anymore because it's just basically like brainwashing to get them what they need rather than the other way around. I've really rarely worked in any restaurant where somebody was actually like, hey man, what are you good at? What can you actually do? All right, let's work on that together. I've never fucking seen that. I've only been one place where I worked at, and also my restaurant.
What was that place that you worked at?
Lineum. That's the only place I've ever worked at where they were like, man, fuck, what are you? Who are you? What do you like to do? And then it can turn on a dime. And that was dope. But it's very different everywhere else that I've ever worked at. It's always been like, well, you want to work saute, oh, well, that's going to take you some time. And, I had a conversation early on in my career, and the guy was like, it's going to take you 2 years. And I'm like, here's my notice, I'm out. And if you fall for that trap, it's really easy to be at a place for 10, 15, 20 years. And then what? They have to lay people off because of pandemic. And where's the family now? I don't remember the last time I got laid off by my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember my mom walking in going like, Eric, you're okay at this stuff, but we've had enough. You need to, it's not a reality. So my whole thing is, everybody needs to start functioning for real as a business. And that's what a restaurant is a business. It's black and white. Stop with this whole like culture bullshit. Stop with this whole, like, we are your friends and we're this. It's not real. It's not real. It's not okay.
So when in the article, like 11 Madison Park, I'm interested in this. You said that, they're doing through Rethink, they kind of turn themselves into in a kitchen to feed people,
right,
and backed by American Express.
Right.
And can that be in and of itself enough to the point that you had in the article, it wasn't for you?
No, it's definitely not enough, because the first thing he did was closed everything down, laid everybody off, took a week or two to figure his own shit out, and then all of a sudden waited for American Express to give him $250,000. It's purely PR. It's purely PR on that point, because there's an article that came out, I think, a couple days ago on Grub Street or something like that. And it talked about his process and him going like, well, we're not going to do 11 Madison Park food to go or for delivery. So then we made the decision to close. And then fast forward to, well, we got $250,000 from American Express, and now we're going to deliver 2,000 to 3,000 meals a day. And I'm like, well, what is it? You basically said that, no, we're not going to deliver, but then we're going to deliver this side now that we have like 250 grand. It just seems like, it doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem like the best interests were taken. There was no like, oh yeah, man, my employees that calling American Express and going, hey, I really want to figure out a way that we can pay our employees, bring them all back on, and then figure this shit out as we're doing it. Have them come in, have them be here, figure out something for them. If they don't feel comfortable coming, let's set up a payment directly to them. If they're feeling sick or if they are uncomfortable, there's plenty of people within a restaurant that can actually work from home. There's a ton, especially at that level. He has like 100 fucking people. He's got 50 something cooks. I've been in the kitchen. And so I get it to a certain degree. And I'm like, there's plenty of tasks. There's plenty of like traffic control. There's plenty of everything, and so I'm not fooled by that kind of shit, because it's very clear. And then you start to see it a week or so later, people on, one of the editors for Eater was like, oh, I definitely know, that, 11 Madison Park lighting companies talking to us, trying to tell us that they're doing cool stuff, and American Express and all these people. So they've got like 5 or 6 contacts that are sending them stuff to like drum up press. And it's just
leveraging the fact that they're doing that work.
It's very fancy. It's very fancy, and it's very opportunistic to kind of change that frame of mind from, hey, we're not this, but we're that. And then in the same article, he talks about, what it's going to be like when restaurants finally open, but also checking off that it's going to be more expensive. And then he would like to be the person that helps redefine luxury. And I'm like, that's kind of a shitty take, because nobody needs luxury right now. People need basic necessities. People need testing. People need to feel secure. People need benefits. People need basic stuff. So if you're already thinking about how to redefine luxury, that's really shitty. Considering that there's thousands of people that are dying on a daily basis. There's people that are food compromised. There's people that are in hospitals. There's hospital workers that are, just barely hanging on with, by a thread. And you've got this guy already going like stage 2 luxury, it's just
feels tone deaf
to a certain degree. Just shut the fuck up, and you could, if he wouldn't have been pointing out and said things and even just nothing, he could have just said like, we open the kitchen. We're doing 2,000, 3,000 meals a day. And then that feels more like genuine, like what you see with Jose Andres. You know what I mean? It seems very different. Jose Andres isn't going like, and now I'm sponsored by, luxury, whatever, and this and that. And, and he's got restaurants that are closed and he's had people that are laid off, and, he's got a massive restaurant empire, and he's doing the best he can. It's not ideal. It's not ideal for him. He's still laid off people, but you can't shit on the guy and go, hey, you laid off people, because he's doing the work. He's putting stuff out there. He's giving resources out there that wouldn't be given to me. I have ideas just like his, but he's already leveled up that much more in his career. And that's awesome that he gets to do that. And that's awesome that he's really persistent about it. And he's been persistent about it for a very long time. Yeah. With everybody, there's stuff that he's not even in. And he's like, we're popping up in California for fires. We're going to Puerto Rico. We're doing all this stuff. Like, it doesn't feel on that level that he's just trying to prop up an image.
Yeah. And here's an interesting thing when I hear you talking about, it's almost as important the process that you got to that. 11 Madison Park, they may have considered their employees, but the fact that that's not the first statement out of their mouth and the one that they're saying again and again and again in the media matters. So then when I'm thinking about that, the responsibility of the media, then what if Chef Daniel did say something about their employees and they didn't print that? Where does the responsibility lie then in the whole communication system?
I don't know. I mean, I've worked with a lot of press people and I've talked to press over a very long period of time. And sometimes there's a couple things that are missed, but like the meat and potatoes of everything, that's, if they're really good at what they do, they'll hit it, 99% of the time. I've never had to go back and like email somebody and go, you missed this. I mean, that's what they do, professionals. It's like, how many restaurants have you been to that you've ordered something and they forgot? That's happened. Doesn't mean it's a shitty restaurant, right? So it's very different. But when it's consistent messaging on different articles, meaning 11 Madison Park, you can kind of suss out what's happening and what they are actually trying to do. Again, it's not me going like, hey, here's one thing they said or did. It's multiple things, and it's multiple actions, and it's having white tablecloths still ironed out on your tables, everybody standing behind one in PPE and white, chef uniforms, and there's a beautiful, like, professionally shot photo. That's, who gives a shit? Like, what is the messaging because of that? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. There's things in optics that I think about all the time about what we're doing, and I'm like, I'm not bringing in a photographer for this shit. We've actually been approached by like major people who have like won Emmys and Oscars for fucking documentaries to come in, and I'm like, not now. Not now. I don't know who you are. You could be sick. You can get us sick, and then we're all fucked. And then you got 10 minutes of film? You know what I mean? And that's like the optics part of it. It's what is our goal at the end of the day? And is it, if it's to look cool, I'll cut my hair, I'll put a chef jacket on, and cool. But that's not what anybody needs right now.
Hey man, the hair and the rose shirt, I'm fucking into it, dude. Don't change that. Looks good. So then for me, the most important part of your article, because we talked about this, there are things that I absolutely love and co-sign 1000%. Other things I'm like, man, it's not my experience, all these different things. And I think that's part of it, is everyone is allowed to have different experiences and different voices within the industry. And that's important. Right. What about on the flip side? Somebody says, well, who are you, Eric, to judge these chefs? You don't know them. And why? You had to know that kind of was coming from writing this article. What do you think of that?
I think that's the biggest part for me is I don't know them on a friend level, but I've met them and I've worked in some of their kitchens, with collaboration things. And I've worked at a pretty high level in my career. and I've seen things and done things that probably nobody will ever see again, you know, in the meaning of like work stuff. And I'm not maybe the best voice for it, but I'm a voice. And I'm not going to sit here and say like everything I'm saying is perfect or true or right. It's just my experience. And I'm not, you know, if I was just saying shit to say shit, I guess I could be anybody, but I know what I'm talking about to a certain degree, you know?
Yeah, and that's I think what you're saying. We talk about a lot. A lot more voices need to be included in the conversation.
Yeah.
Are all those voices going to be right? There is no fucking right, especially right now. There is no right. There is you, your people, your community, whatever that means to connect that. And the more thoughtful that you're seeing that communication come across or the actions come across, it matters to you. That's why it was important for you to say something.
You know, so David Chang reached out to me and he was like, what's your deal? Because I was consistently just on his shit. And he was cool about it. You know, he called me up. We talked for almost an hour. And we're still like, you know, checking in with each other. I don't agree with everything he has to say. I don't agree with everything he has to do. And I fucking told him that. And he was like, you're right. You know, to a certain degree, he's like, you're going at a very different way, but which I don't really agree with. And I'm like, okay, but we're talking. So, you know, so it's like, he's a stand-up guy. You know, he's in a shit spot. It's not cool for him. He's not excited. He's not celebrating anything right now. You know, and he's very vocal and he's doing what he can. He's in a shit spot. I mean, it's just, you have investors that kind of give you the world, and it's like doing a deal with the devil, man. It's like doing a deal with the devil. If somebody's to say, I believe in you and I give you all the money, but you have to do this way, you're going to have to make that decision. And, you know, he made that decision, and it sucks because I truly believe deep down in him, he's a really fucking cool guy. And one of the guys that when I was like learning to do stuff was like, Momofuku cookbook is my shit. I can cook that fucker backwards and forwards. Anything he was putting up, you know, Lucky Peach and all that stuff, like fanboy style, right? But now I'm like, what happened? And I talked to him. I was like, you know what? When you opened like Co, and you would have been around the same size as I am right now, around, you know, 5 to 10 employees and whatever else. I was like, if you would have saw some chef like saying some shit like this, you'd be like, fuck these guys. And he was like, you're right. You know, and it's like, it's just a different approach. I think like once you start taking on more responsibilities, it's easy to forget kind of like where you came from and how feisty you were or not. You know, your first day in like a garde manger station and you got fucking saute guy yelling at you, you got expo yelling at you. And then you're the fucking guy, you're the expo, you're the sous chef, you're the whatever, yelling at the fucking garde manger guy again. Yeah. You know, it's very quick. But then when you take that and it becomes your restaurant, and then it becomes an additional restaurant, and then you're like a household name. You know, it's hard to go, fuck is garde manger doing? You know, it's just like it happens very quickly. And look, I'm not here to call everybody out or whatever, but it's those guys that I look at and I'm like, everything is hit the fan in the worst way possible right now, and it's completely like fucking just obliterated the restaurant world. So people are going to look and listen to you. So say something that works. And if you don't have anything to say that works or helps things get better, don't say anything. It's fine. You don't need it. You'd be like, I just go, I don't fucking know what's going on. And then go to the next one. Or you can be like, hey, we're going to open up. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. I think we got something. We'll fucking figure it out. And this might be their last day we're open, but at least we're going to, you know, and that's what makes it really different.
Yeah, we're going to go in our fucking pirate ship and try and make some shit happen and see what,
I mean, it's like,
comes from it.
There's everybody says you can close, you can stay open, you can do this. You know, we haven't closed. My restaurant hasn't closed. We figured out different ways to do a whole bunch of different things. And, you know, on my side, it's like we operate differently anyway. We've always operated differently. So it wasn't a big shift from what we were already doing. It was just ready to take on more responsibilities from what guest expectations are and, you know, what we can actually do.
So you mentioned Alinea, a place that early on was like actually asked you that question.
Yeah.
You mentioned Jose Andres, the work that he's doing with World Central Kitchen. who are some of the chefs potentially that you see right now that are actually out there doing things that you say, yes, that is exactly what I feel is going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, well, I worked at Lee, so Grant, Chef Ackett's, they're doing crazy shit, and like he sent me a text the other day, and he was like, Eric, we did like 3,000 meals for Easter. And I'm like, excuse me?
What? Holy shit.
And he's, and they've been hustling. They've actually been able to rehire their entire staff again. But even when they let everybody go, they still were paying their benefits and they still gave them money to stay at home. So it wasn't like leaving them out in the cold, which I thought was really cool because they don't have to do that, but they did it. You know what I mean? And so, and at that level, they don't have to do anything because the precedence is set from so many other restaurants that, fucking Danny Meyer did it, so I'm going to lay off people. And then you have this fucking chain of dominoes. It's like at a local level here in Seattle. It's like Tom Douglas closes and then everybody else is like, well, if Tom's closing, I'm going to close too because blah. And I'm like, fuck all y'all. It's bullshit. You have 17 restaurants, 13 restaurants or whatever, and you're going to close just because the other guy with 15 restaurants is going to close. So that's fucking stupid. How many of those guys could have I actually was like looking for another kitchen to like expand our operations. They're just wanting to stay closed. I can easily take over their kitchen and just be like, I'll pay rent on it. Just stay away from what we're doing. I got it. But those options aren't available. But as far as more people that are doing good, there's so many people that nobody knows about because they're not in the limelight. They're not speaking out. They don't have an hour to spend on a podcast or a Facebook Live thing or whatever the fuck. Like they're actually smaller than me and don't have any of the resources even that I have. So there's tons of that. Dude, there's so many restaurants here that on our mom and pop bubble never fucking closed. Never closed. Weren't even, and probably didn't lay anybody off, but they're like hustling and they're still small, like family shit. There's like Pho Bach, they're a pho place here in Seattle. They've been around since the early 80s and they didn't close. They're like third generation family now of like pho kids, it's dope. But you've got tons of people like that. And on a national level, that wouldn't ring true. Nobody'd be like, oh, cool, the pho place is open. Oh, cool, that does Chinese food here since the 1920s here in Seattle. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's looking for them. Nobody's going to talk to them. Nobody's going to go out there because it's what I always talk about. It's like translatable cuisine. It's if you can understand what the cuisine is in your language, then it becomes something. It's almost like colonizer style shit. When somebody goes on vacation, for example, like a Rick Bayless goes to Mexico, bounces around, does a really good job at cooking the food, but then comes back to a place like Chicago and wins all of the James Beard Awards, sees so much success, gets a TV show, and is able to amplify that vision of what the food is, but it's coming from him because you can understand him. He translated that for you. So there's part of that happens. There isn't enough representation and diversity in food writing on a local level here, I would say, in Seattle. So it's hard for someone that doesn't speak a certain language to go check in to see how somebody's doing. Right?
Yeah. Well, you talked about that in the full podcast episode, being the Puerto Rican kid in the really white part of Washington that you grew up in. Yeah. And so now you're trying to, take some of your heritage and power in this moment. And so much of the industry is built on the backs of minorities. When we talk about unsung hospitalities, I think of the dishwashers that are just the best, the most important person in the building, straight up. Right. Like, no question about it. So when you're reflecting on that and you're trying to kind of champion a voice for not being the chef who's counter to the other chef, but definitely knowing you want to try and say that the dishwasher's voice should matter just as much as anybody else. How do you see that practically being able to play out?
I honestly don't think it's ever going to play out until, again, restaurants start acting like restaurants. They start acting like businesses. Tech is a decent enough example, but on an extreme level, you look at something like Amazon, they take care of their employees who are on the business side, meaning not in a warehouse, really well. They take care of them really well. They get paid a lot. They have resources that are never ending. But then you look at a warehouse level worker and they treat them like shit. So it's like if you were an engineer at Facebook, you're front of house. If you were a warehouse worker at Amazon, you're back of house.
Oh, man. The back of house, front of house debate continues in another industry. Huh?
But that happens with almost every industry. You have your, your chairman of the board, CEO, director level people that'll show up and be ready to go. And then you've got everybody else down here. It's very evident in restaurants because we expect it. You're not expecting the dishwasher to go to a table and clear a table because most people would be offended by that. That happens at our restaurant all the time. Our cooks run food, they know how to open bottles of wine. They know how to talk to the guests, and it's just a different mindset. And you have to I tell them, I'm like, if your next step isn't wanting to open up your own restaurant, don't work here. Cause you can go work at a fucking cheesecake factory. I mean, not right now, but you can go work at a cheesecake factory and probably make more. You can go work at a hotel and make more. They pay more. And so for us, it's like, not trying to sit here and sit at some minimum level. It's try to go, okay, cool. Like, here's what we're going to do at this higher level. All of our employees start at $18 an hour. All of them have the ability to get benefits that I pay 50% of their premium for. And we launched benefits on April 1st, in the middle of a fucking pandemic. What's up? And
yeah,
the reason I say it like that is because there's other chefs, restaurateurs, all this other kind of stuff that can't even get past the idea of taking the cuisine they make and putting it in a to-go box and giving it to people. They forgot that the reason why people like their restaurant is because it sends like a sense memory type thing for them where it felt like a good time. People are kind of in a shitty spot right now, so they're looking for something positive. And if you can't figure out a way to package up your restaurant and give it to them in a little box and go, I don't know what it's going to do like when you get it home, but we're doing our best. If you can't figure out how to message and stuff and make those ideas happen, then you weren't really a good chef anyway. Because there's every single chef that I've known, when they're faced with, fuck, the goddamn dairy order didn't come in. What do we do? Send somebody to the store. I'll go to the store. Oh, God damn it. The shit got stuck in so-and-so. What are we going to do? They'll figure it out. The good chefs figure it out. The other ones that don't, they'll just go, just 86 the shit. Yeah. And so this is like kind of the whole thing. It's like, what are you willing to do to like think beyond the plate and think beyond your doors and get food to people at any level? Because I'll tell you what, being fussed out doing table side service, it's going to be gone for a really long time. Bar counters are going to be gone for a long time. The chef's counter at my restaurant is going to be gone for a really long time. So what am I going to do? Sit here and write an op-ed about how it's tough for me and my chef's table? That is an award-winning chef's table. That shit, who cares? Who gives a shit? Nobody cares. They're like, I'm at my dinner table at my fucking house. I have 3 kids that are staring at me. I have a dog that looks at me like, holy shit, you're home all the time. And I got to figure out how to work from home. That's like a real problem people are having right now. They're like managing 2 or 3 kids running around like crazy, dogs going like, hey, snacks every 2 seconds. And they're like work, and then their kids are trying to like do schoolwork, and then all this other shit. It's like juggling fucking flamethrowers. And then you got a chef over here crying about, oh, it's my chef's tables. Why doesn't nobody come to it? Come on, man.
Yeah. Gotta figure shit out. Like, it's not going to be what it was before, right? You said very specifically, everything in restaurants will change forever. And so we don't know exactly what that's going to be, but to your point, it's going to fucking change and you're going to have to figure it out. You don't have to put the past on a pedestal to the degree in which you are crippled by the inability to figure out how to create hospitality and experience and moments and memories, because you can still do those things. It just isn't the way that we were brought up in the industry. And you got to figure that out. So let's talk about that, because you are a perpetual motion machine, man. Every day, it's like, I'm thinking about doing pantry items. I'm thinking about delivering raw meats. Where are you guys at? Are you interested in that? What part of town are you in? Can we set up a hub in your neighborhood? Like, go, constantly trying to figure out how to connect with people. That's just in you. I know that clearly. Why is that so important right now, though?
It's a fundamental understanding of communication. I'm kind of a shut-in type of person anyway. I really am. Like, I could sit in my house for like months and it would be awesome. So everybody's at home now, which is like dream scenario for me, but I have a restaurant and it's open. So what I'm doing is kind of hoping that what would I do if I was at home? What would I want to see if I was at home? I'm kind of playing that game in my head. So I'm like, if I was going to go like order out 5 times this week, what would I want to see? Would it be everything that I do at my restaurant? Fuck no. So that's always been the first thing is like, how many times can someone come to my restaurant and support it before they go, okay, cool, we supported it, but it's still the same menu. It has to change all the time. It has to be different. You have to offer different things. I've reached out to people and I'm like, what are you guys eating for lunch? They're eating for lunch leftovers, random condiments they found in their fridge that have been hanging out there for a year. It's just like they're just whatever. They're like, I don't really give a shit about lunch. I'm more geared up towards dinner, but when I do eat lunch, it's sandwiches. So whatever. So for me, I'm like taking all that information and I go, okay, cool. I've got a whole tech side of people that are going to be working from home probably through the end of the year, if not longer. And I know they're at home. And we were feeding a lot of those people for like corporate lunches. And so it's communicating with those people going like, hey, I'm going to start a lunch program. It's $11 per meal. It's 3 meals per week, $33. We're going to make you your, office style lunch. You can have like a little bag over here that's a hydration kit, because they get free work. And then they have like snacks, like a little snack desk box they can make for themselves. It's really understanding what that is, listening to it and going like, fuck it. We'll do these like, one of my favorite ways that I've seen lunch done is Indian tiffin boxes. I don't know if you've ever,
Yeah, you stack them up.
Brilliant. That's the most brilliant shit I've ever seen. So that's kind of like the thing that gets me excited about it to create something like that. Or it's nonstop people going, I fucking can't find yeast or flour. And I have different ways to get that stuff because my purveyors are, they sell to restaurants. Well, the restaurants are closed. So you know what they're sitting on? Yeast and flour. Fucking overnight, dude, I launched this thing called Hype Yeast. And it's basically just I take on Hype Beast and I'm like, guys, I've got the best drops of the season, fresh yeast, dry yeast, gold label yeast. I've got all of them. Yeasty 350. I got you. Yeah, no, it's stupid. It's funny, but it's functional for them where they're like, you're a total jackass, but you have bread flour. I'll take me 5 pounds. I'll take AP flour. I'll take some yeast. I'll take some whatever. And I'm like, do you want sourdough starter too? So we started sourdough starter and then the employees named them. One's Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's fucking hilarious. They're excited about it too, and you see them process, and so it makes it very different. And it's like it's the same exact thing that like Amazon did when they first started. Everybody thought the guy was just going to be in his garage selling books, and that wasn't his thing. That wasn't it. It was figuring out how to sell everything. And so on my side, I'm like, I'm going to have a system that can sell everything, but also not warehouse conditions.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that. Your people, you have that hustle. You're going to get them whatever they need. It's a challenge to be able to keep up with that breakneck speed. Yet your staff is super excited about Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know if I spelled that correctly, but I tried.
You got it.
And you're paying them $18 an hour, so they're not a fucking warehouse person that's getting treated like they're indentured servants.
Yeah.
How are you able to do that practically from a business standpoint?
I'm pretty decent at understanding how numbers work. It's called simple math. And so you manage money coming in, you manage money coming out, and that's it. We do a lot of, back end stuff.
Yeah.
That we developed ourselves, and targeted ads, targeted marketing through Facebook, Instagram, whoever else will take us. I have a newsletter that I write every week, that I send out to all of our guests. I'm constantly all over everything as much as I can, just trying to understand like what people need and how they need it. It's an approach of beyond the restaurant point of view. And that's what has always helped me. Because if I look at what's needed to fill the seats in the restaurant, I think that's a failed pastime idea for now. And that's when I talk about when things are going to change forever. That's a thing. It's a point of view of like, if you want a restaurant, what is that restaurant going to look like? If you want to do restaurant, what is that going to be? And it's not that. You know, you see like Texas, they're like, you can open your restaurant tomorrow at 25% capacity. There's a bunch of problems with that. One, the guests probably don't want to come in. They're not going to come in. They're still like, man, this fucking governor's insane. No, thank you. And then you've got restaurants that have been closed that are going to open up now that haven't done anything for a month and a half. And they're going to, dude, they have no idea what they're getting into. I can tell you this as a guy that's like actually open right now. The learning curve for a lot of these restaurants is going to be massive. And the only thing that's going to happen is safety issues. And the only thing that's going to happen is guest complaints. And the guest complaints on this side, it's not them putting a Yelp review. It's them ending up in the fucking hospital.
Yeah.
That's the whole different side of it. It's not, you know, oh man, I fucking, they emailed the GM, the Gmail, you know, they emailed them back and they said, oh yeah, we'll get you a fucking coupon to come back in, or I comped your meal, or the finesse of that whole old style thing. Oh. Now it's very much like, fucking asshole, we got sick, we ate at your restaurant 2 days ago. And it's not food poisoning.
You can't PR that shit away for sure. The thinking is you're opening a brand new restaurant in a completely new universe. Yeah. And so if you think you're going to open up the way that you always have and then just layer on a couple more sanitation techniques or show that you're doing that, it's not going to happen. You have to reopen your restaurant with a completely different training, a completely different expectation. Managing your space differently, managing your product differently, managing your interaction differently. Totally. And you can't just fucking sprinkle some crack on it and expect it to be good.
No, I mean, it's on our side. I mean, we told all of our guests, like, you can't pick up your food unless you have a mask. You know, and they're like, what? They're like, we're not even coming to your restaurant. I was like, it's not about you. It's about what I want. And that shift is like, that's fucking jarring for people. People are used to that from me because I treat it that way anyway. But the normal everyday family, like a Denny's, they're not gonna be able to get away with that shit. They're not gonna, you know, people fucking, they're gonna be like, fuck you, Denny's guy. You know, and that doesn't go well with me because I'm like actually in the restaurant. And so I'm gonna be like, you go fuck myself? Oh, I got something.
I see you.
It's different, you know, so, you know, that's a big problem. You're going to have a lot of bigger chains that are going to come back on board, and they're going to be relaxed about stuff. They're not going to, you know, they're going to lobby to get their own special interests taken care of so they can open, whether that's requiring more things, meaning, you know, if they start to require crazy ass new HACCP plans, that's going to price out a lot of people with time, resources, and efficiency models to like have the time to do that while they're open. It's the same exact way with the first round of the SBA loans. They're like, everybody, applications are open. But we, on my side, we were doing 12, 16 hours a day. And I didn't have time to go sit next to my computer for an hour and a half and go through a fucking process for a bank. You saw people that got it on the first round, and they were like gigantic companies, and they have marketing firms and advertising firms and, you know, accounting firms and lawyers and everything else. So if they need to get their stuff faster, that's kind of what happens. But even on the employee level, next up, which should be first, it's, you know, somebody's on furlough right now. That's kind of it's a kind of a shitty system, to be honest, because if they say, I'm going to go work somewhere else, they're like, fine, unemployment stops. And it's like, no, but you fucking told me I couldn't work. It's a really shitty system, and I don't like the verbiage of it. And I don't like how certain restaurants are like, we're good. We can't wait to get open to bring back our furloughed employees. I don't think that's a good vibe, because what ends up happening is there's going to be employees that are going to be put in a shit spot that they don't trust the restaurant. They don't trust their family to come back because they don't think they're going to be safe enough. So if I'll give you an example, if you were paid minimum wage and you're just like a dishwasher or something like that, I don't know of too many restaurants out there that are going to particularly want to put their dishwasher in the best place possible when they weren't already doing that before. So now having to add all of this new stuff into it, there aren't many places that are going to be like, hey, I got you all of these things. Here you go. You're all masked up, gloved up, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't see that happening because we all know how like chains work and asshole owners work and all that kind of stuff. They're just gonna be like, the health department's not gonna come in here, you know, like, and if they do, push it, you know, and it's stuff like that. That before anybody knows it, everything's gonna be open again. How they're gonna be open and what way they're gonna be open, that goes all the way back to understanding how restaurants that are very high level work and ones that work on a low level, because everybody has different ideas of what sanitation is and safety is and employee welfare is and whoever. And so then you have your, you know, timed out, cleaned down, perfectly meticulous kitchen restaurants. And then you have the other ones that are just kind of like running around going, fuck, you know, that's just reality.
Yeah, and so when you're thinking about those restaurants, you think people are going to go right back to the bad habits super quickly, that there'll just be a layer of facade potentially of like the new PPE stuff,
Yeah.
the new like sanitation techniques, creating just enough transparency where it's like, cool, as long as they're only watching over here, they're not going to be paying attention to the shit that we're actually doing. And then they'll put on the health department show.
Yeah. And that's always going to happen. And then, but you've also got, you know, people who are stupid enough to just kind of like not even.
Oh, we lost him. He's on a roll too. We'll see if he pops back in for a second. This has been a big conversation that I've been having with a lot of restaurants that reach out to me, is how they're going to be able to manage the expectations when they don't know what the expectations. What's up? Oh, you got the crazy black and white camera. Here we go. We got you back on. It's par for the course, my friend. So anyway, you think that they're going to just go back into those bad habits potentially?
Man, you're going to see it. Like they start opening up restaurants and beaches and all this kind of shit in like Florida and Texas, and people are just right back at it. There's pictures at a restaurant that had a patio seating in Texas, and nobody had anything on. That's just the way it's going to be, man. Like, there's people still to this day that will fight a fucking chickenpox vaccine, you know. And it's just some people that are like looking on Facebook, going, "That's going to kill my child," and meanwhile their child dies, and then they go, "Why'd my child die?" And then thoughts and prayers, and before you know it, it's just a big clusterfuck and circle jerk and whatever else you fucking want to call it. And it's just a bunch of dumb fucking people, and you can't fix stupid. You know what I mean? You can't fix ignorant people. You can't fix people that are just going to be like, shit's open, let's run back, you know. And it's you know, coronavirus is in the corner going, you get it now, like they're Oprah, and you get it now, and you get it now, and you get it now. And that's what it is. You can't fucking hide from it. You can't talk it away. You can't, you know, wear a hazmat suit and then expect that I'm doing this all the time. Because then you have a variable. There could be on the fucking person that comes home. It could be, you know, up to 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours on a package that you get. And so it's like, if you're not willing to take those extra precautions, then yeah, you're going to get something. You know, people risk their lives all the time for the dumbest shit. And this is just going to be one of those things where this is one of those dumbest shit moments. It's going to be one of those Darwin Award style, you know, winnering moments where, you know, you have the politician that goes, I'm going to shake everybody's hand. And the fucking next week they have it. And they're like, damn it. You know, it's like, what do you think was going to happen? And so that's just kind of the reality of it. That's what's going to happen in restaurants. I mean, there was a bigger chain or something like that opened, and they don't want their employees to wear masks because they don't feel like it's the appearance they want to give to people. Sure. And I'm like, well, that was you wanting to maintain your previous restaurant image. Things are different now. And if you're not willing to adapt that, then honestly, somebody needs to come over and say that. It needs to be like health department. It needs to be like government. It needs to be like, fucking call the cops on them. Fuck, you know, and go, hey, I just went to this restaurant. Nobody's here. They're coughing, spitting, whatever. If I called my health department right now and said, hey, I saw for the last 2 times I've been there, dude moving chicken over a beef over a whatever vegetable board and everything, they would actually go inspect it. They would actually go and check that shit out. And they would be like, I wonder if anybody's got sick since they've been, you know, eating, and they'd go file and figure it out. That place can get shut down. So if stuff like that isn't happening now with verbiage or communication, I don't know if it ever will. I mean, I saw something where there was a lady that opened up her salon and was doing the thing, and then they gave her like 3 cease and desists, and they finally threw her in jail for a week. Shit like that's going to happen because it's serious. This isn't like everyone first round of this shit. Oh, it's just like the flu. It's just like this. It's just like that. We try to talk it back and whatever. And it's dead serious, man. It's crazy. There's fucking people that are dying. Like, how much more serious? How many more people need to die before somebody just goes, hey, I think it's fucking serious. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
So let's end on a positive note. The kind of positivity that we find is infectious, right? The shirt. Let's end with the shirt. Your people, you got 10, 11 employees, right? Your team. Touch on them for a moment. How important it is for you as a leader of your family in this moment, right? To be able to keep them working safely, to be able to bring what's needed in the community to them. I mean, who are they? Why is that so important?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole team. I mean, it's people that we brought on that I never knew, and then to fill what we needed at the restaurant, and started with Ingrid, working with me for the last couple of years, and then Paul, which I know you talked to him.
Sure, yeah, great guy.
Yeah, he's dope, and he's kind of taken on more of a leadership role, and he's like working the kitchen more and kind of seeing things coming out. And then John and our dishwasher Missy, and a couple of new people like Corbin and Rachel and Deontay, and then we have like 2 delivery drivers, and we added a 3rd one yesterday. So it's just a bigger operation now, and they're the way that they're more essential than like the stuff I'm doing, meaning like just getting the work done. So it's having conversations with them. It's different. It's a different vibe too. I never did like staff beers before ever.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the night, like I will go to their station or wherever they're working and like put one on their station and be like, good, and then talking to them like, how are you at home? Like, what's up? I have a couple people, and they're not from good places. And, it's going like, what do you got for food at your house? Oh, I'm good, chef. Bullshit. What do you have for food at your house? And then they're like, you can kind of tell they're just trying to like sound cool around their people. And I'm like, nope. And I'll go and like grab a bunch of stuff and just be like, you're taking this home. And it's everything from that to, throwing toilet paper at them and going, you're taking this home. I know that you are a single person and you don't shop and nobody's going to tell you what to do. Take this home. It's just stuff. It's stuff like that. It's, my mom made everybody masks, and then I bought some more masks that they're all like nicer, so they can kind of like have a different vibe.
Still have some swag when they're wearing their mask.
Yeah. And I've been looking for like even more dope ones, just so they can it could be their thing, but it could be kind of super fun.
I got my original Batman logoed mask, I rock it.
Yeah. And so it's little things like that all the way to just making sure they're okay. And, having a conversation with them and be like, what are you doing tomorrow? And they're like, oh, just sitting at home, going to sleep. And I'm like, staying at home, it's good. It's a very different vibe, I think it kind of works well for cooks. Because a lot of them are just kind of like, I'm fucking work all the time. I'm just going home anyway. That's the vibe. Not a lot of cooks ever are like, fucking cannot wait for Saturday, Sunday, and retreat time, and vacation. It's not
hitting the lake this weekend.
No, and that's kind of why it works for our team a little bit more. We don't have like the front of house side was never really a thing in our restaurant, which is another part that's very different. So we don't have people that are going like, okay, cool, I'm here for 5 hours and I'm going to leave. So it's just a different expectation, but they've been really cool. There's been weird days. There's been days where I'm like, are you fucking sick? Like in a serious way, like, why are you coughing? Like, what is that?
Coughing, please.
Yeah. And then, telling him you gotta leave like immediately. You gotta leave. You gotta go get tested. And you can't come back until you get tested. We had 2 times where we did that with people, and they came back. They were like, "Oh, I had fucking allergies, and one was like I actually had like a normal flu." And I'm like,
no big deal.
But I'm like, stay home though. I was like, I'll pay for you to stay home, but just stay home. So it's just a very different conversation. And it's not impeding from them. We had a couple people like, they were like, this is too much for me, and I don't want to do this. And I'm like, works for me. But this is what we have to do, and this is exactly what it is. There's no fucking, gold dust or fairy things I could put over anybody. I'm like, nope, this is what we are. And so it works for some people. It didn't work for some people. I'm okay with that, but they had other options too. So that's cool.
That's good, man. Just being thoughtful and being diligent for your people. Like, that's truly what leadership is. Like, you work for them. And I think that's super important, and you're recognizing it. So yeah, Eric, man, amazing conversation. That was a long conversation too. You got shit to do, man. I'm excited to see what comes next for you and for your people, because I know that's going to be at the forefront, and keep sparking conversation, man. I told a lot of people that reached out to me knowing that, we're friends, like, Eric punched the industry in the mouth a little bit. He knew what he was doing. He's a smart fucking guy. What he does next and does with that platform and the voice, and to be able to empower other voices, that's what's going to show the true leadership. So I'm grateful that we can keep bantering and having conversations about it, my friend.
Anytime.
All right, brother. You have a good day, man. Be safe.
Thank you.
Cheers. Eric Rivera. That guy's a beast. His energy is through the roof, and just always constantly pushing to be dynamic, to figure things out, to connect, and the way that he's thoughtfully thinking about what the tech people need, and then utilizing their skills. And he's got some cool AI assisted delivery methods that they're using. And I'm sure that came from feeding the tech and then asking questions, just asking questions. What do you need? What are you thinking about when you're at home? And being able to adapt and be what people need. And that's what restaurants really are. They are what people need. So often we're doing that from the perspective of, this is what we're going to give you, and you are going to have our type of experiences. The ones that do it well say, this is who we are. This is what we represent. This is what we stand for. This is our point of view. And this is how we're going to be of service to you, how we're going to present the feeling of hospitality to you. So I'm grateful to that. Long episode. Thank you for anybody who actually watched all the way through. It was an important conversation to have, because Eric is definitely somebody who has a voice and is trying to empower more voices in the conversation. I think that is very, very mission critical now and into the future. So tomorrow's episode, just one episode tomorrow. Prim Communications, Gretchen and Taylor from there in Denver, Colorado, are amazing communicators. And I think you hear the word communicate, communication, communicator on every single episode of my show, because it's what matters to me. And I think what matters to the industry and to us as humans at large right now. They're going to be on. They are a PR communications company. And what I'm most excited about actually is the work that they're doing to support the efforts of feeding Colorado heroes, frontline workers. We're going to talk about that a little bit. That is tomorrow, noon Mountain Time. Appreciate you. Have a great day.